Here, 2+ hours NBA DFS conversation, taking y'all straight up the lock. Joining us for crunch time around 6:25, give or take. You got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth holding that down with TastefulTides, Tim, and I believe Ice. The Iceman was upgraded on the show yesterday. Now he's on the show, the Late Show, today. Jeez, good Lord. It's a Tuesday. I'm joined by Bobby Gomes. Bobby, you closed strong football-wise. You're talking about that pre-show. Congratulations on that. Yeah. The season's over. We're not gonna have our Sunday mornings anymore, unfortunately. If you want to text me at like 10:25 just to say hello or thinking about you, by all means, go for it.
I might do that. I'll have to take you up on that. I'm gonna miss you. We don't have GrindersLive this week, no?
I don't think so. I don't know. Now I'm just saying that out loud.
Right?
I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be some content for sure. I would imagine. Wednesday night, I'm doing a show with Rebar and Daigle, the Pick Six show. That's going down for sure. But, of course, there's content on the site. But as far as shows, I don't know. I can't speak to that. Maybe producer Devin can. I'm not sure. Maybe he can clarify for us in the chat. But surely.
Yeah, we're not doing the traditional Grinders Live, but we will have plenty of shows. So
there you go.
Yeah, and we're kind of late on the scheduling because we were waiting for, obviously, the games to be scheduled. So, yeah, we'll have some stuff. Don't worry, everybody.
And it's also weird the way it's kind of spread out. 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, 1 game on Monday. So, I mean, content-wise, that's not ideal. Even as far as the sites go, I think there's 3 different setups, right? You can play Saturday only. You can play, I think, the 5 games, or you can play all 6. I haven't fully dug in yet as far as what the biggest contests are, but I'm sure I'll be dabbling across the board. Sure, why not? What did you take down about? Was it a takedown, Bobby, or just a successful Sunday as far as football?
It was a successful Sunday as far as football. I finished 50th in the Millie, had some good single entry teams. I know for a lot of people, main slates in NFL have not been too friendly this year. I've been one of them. But yeah, it's good to close strong. So like to see it, like to hopefully carry that over to NBA.
Yeah, let's do it for sure. Do you want to say what's up to the chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe so you know when we're going live for football and, of course, basketball. And 80 days away is baseball, give or take. Oh, that's going to be a grind. It never ends.
Did you say 80 days?
I think it's 80. I think it's actually less than 80 days. Yeah, it's not that far away.
We're starting the countdown.
Yeah, Correa was signed today for the 3rd time. And let's see if it sticks around as far as with Minnesota. I assume he's got to pass some medicals, but yeah, Correa back on Minnesota, 6 years, $200 million. So yeah, baseball right around the corner.
He's back with Minnesota.
Yeah.
Dude, who did he signed with San Fran, right? Or the Padres first or someone?
He signed with San Francisco for around $300 million or so, and then something with the medicals popped, and then they said, nah, no good. Either he signed or he's going to, he didn't pass a physical, whatever. Then the Mets swooped in oh, we'll take him, and then same deal, I imagine, as far as the medicals, and now Minnesota is I guess, yeah, he was fine for us last year, and we'll take 6 years, $200 million. That's where they're at now.
Is it medicals?
Say it again.
He lost $100 million because of medicals?
I guess so. Yeah, I think that there's some sort of vested. I didn't fully dig into it. I think there's a way you can make more, probably pending on some thresholds he has to hit, something like that, I would imagine. But yeah.
Wouldn't that have been the way to do the first 2 contracts if he wanted to get 300?
Well, I mean,
you wanted to leave.
Not if you can negotiate for 330 with you don't have to hit anything. Just show up and you get 3. Not even show up necessarily. Just sign the paper. You get 330. In baseball, it's all guaranteed.
But after the second one, I would have been still trying to get the 3 and then just add the incentives. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He had some body
issue because of the incentives. I don't know. Yeah. I watched White Lotus for what it's worth. Well, I'm pretty much almost through with the first season. I have 1 episode left.
Are you watching it with by yourself or with the girlfriend?
With the girlfriend, yeah.
And
with the girlfriend.
What's the what do we have so far? What's the official?
She's already seen it. I'm watching it. I'm watching it through. She tried to get me to watch it the first time, and I just don't watch enough shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. It's good. It's intriguing, interesting. Just topics and the family is just completely insane. And then the guy who's the manager of the hotel, he's even more crazy. It comes at you fast because he's all prim and proper in the first episode,
Yes. Wait, so I won't spoil anything for you, but yeah, he definitely closes strong, I would say.
Yeah, good for it. The kid who's like the entitled rich kid who marries that girl. There's good chemistry between all the actors, and it's good stuff. It's funny dialogue.
Do you know that was the guy that was in The Office the last couple of seasons when nobody watched The Office?
I didn't watch The Office like everyone else, so I did not know that.
Did you watch The Office when it was like The Office, or never watched any of it?
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. He came in the last couple of seasons where
it's hard not to see it, like Space Jam.
Yeah. We'll get to basketball in a second. 7-gamer. We'll knock it out. No worries. The interesting thing about this slate today, tons and tons and tons of value, especially on DK. Like Fanduel really pumped up some of their players. If you kind of just sort by point per dollar stuff on Fanduel, there's only two players that are above 6, over a 6 as far as point per dollar, 6 points per dollar on Fanduel. On DK, you have like 10. And then you have Orlando Robinson, who's got 10, basically 10 points per dollar. I hate using the term free square, but he kind of sort of somewhat feels like a free square. Now, if he puts up a 28 at 3-1, you can beat that, obviously. But we'll talk about the Heat. The Heat last man standing tonight is Jimmy Butler, as far as we know. I assume he's going to be playing. I don't see any reason otherwise, except for the fact he's on Miami, and Miami does goofy stuff. But Miami is without 4 of their regular starters. No Bam Adebayo, no Hero, no Lowry, no Caleb Martin. Also, Duncan Robinson, one of their regulars, is out. So we'll be talking about the Heat for sure. Lots of teams dealing with injuries. Detroit is kind of thin. Phoenix is super, super thin without their 3 bust players. Feel bad for TNT, the TNT doubleheader tonight. I'm not sure if you saw it. It's OKC Miami. And then it's Phoenix versus Golden State. They may get Steph back tonight. Steph is questionable. Oh, no, I think he's actually in now, right? Steph is expected back? Okay.
Steph is expected back, yeah.
Yeah, so Golden State basically fully operational, ready to go. And then there's Phoenix, who's going to be without Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Cam Payne, Cam Johnson, Devin Booker. Shamet and Craig are both questionable. I think they're more likely than not to play. They're at 10 if those guys go. That's the back half of the TNT doubleheader. But just tons and tons of value. Really easy to spend up on your big spends. If you want Embiid, you can have Embiid. Well, he's also questionable too. If you want Luka Doncic, it's really easy to get Luka Doncic. It's not hard at all. The other tricky thing is that there's 7 games tonight, right? Just got to give them the overview. 3 of them, 10 o'clock, 10:30. One of them is that Phoenix game. Clippers shuffled up their lineup last time. They're probably going to do it again. Arjax basically booted out of the rotation outside of like 7 or 8 minutes. We saw Terrence Mann play a bunch of minutes. No Paul George as well. You want some runbacks in that Luka game. What is your general attack process for tonight? Because there's a lot of good stuff, and the slate's kind of split in half as far as time. 3 early games, 4 late games, 1 at 9. Cleveland, Utah. This is first blood revenge in Utah for Donovan Mitchell, the superstar that is Donovan Mitchell, going back to Utah for the very first time. Of course, you have Markkanen against his old team as well, too, I suppose. Clarkson, too.
Yeah.
What do you have as far as your overview on this slate?
So it pretty much revolves for me around the Miami Heat. Going to have a lot of Heat in the majority of my lineups. I think you can also make a case for some of these Phoenix Suns. There's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of usage to go around. Dwayne Washington, Orlando Robinson would probably be my 2 favorites from both teams. Could throw Jock Landale in there. I like him a little bit. Jimmy Butler is going to be one of the stronger plays at small forward, like him. On the Heat side, there's just a ton of usage that's opened up. So in terms of attacking the slate, obviously 7 o'clock, I'm probably not going to go too heavy. Although earlier today, prior to the Heat news, these Detroit guys were popping a little bit because their rotation's pretty tight, and they only have really Isaiah Stewart and Nerlens Noel, I would say, that would be able to handle Embiid. Embiid is in a fantastic spot versus Detroit team. The Sixers are just fully healthy. I wouldn't mind taking a shot on Embiid in tournaments. I think the ceiling is very high in the spot versus Detroit. if the game stays close. But you're also giving up spots prior to this heat game. So that's where it becomes difficult to kind of parse through who you want in your lineups. But really prioritizing the Heat and really prioritizing the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, that is the first game, by the way. Detroit and Philadelphia, the only game at 7 o'clock. Let's talk about it. You kind of alluded to the injuries there for Detroit. Big one, Bojan Bogdanovic, basically their biggest usage guy. Last one standing. Kate Cunningham, of course, out for the season as well. And their other big, right, Jalen Duran is not playing basketball. Isaiah Livers is questionable, which kind of sort of might be meaningful. Of course, Marvin Bagley is out as well. And we are giving Killian Hayes 35 minutes, like beef stew, 31 and a half. Like you said, there's not a lot of girth, size, whatever you want to call it. They're going to dust off Nerlens Noel, and that's what we're doing. We're giving out of the 48 center minutes. We're giving 31 and a half. Oh, it's a revenge game for Nerlens Noel. Just remembered. He was in those terrible tanking Philadelphia teams many years ago, right? Yep. We're giving him 16 minutes, but I just can't imagine. When was the last time Noel has done anything meaningful, played any meaningful minutes? I feel like it's been a long time.
It's been a while.
He played 12 last game.
We're not playing Noel on this slate.
Well, I'm just thinking in my head, there's a really good chance this game blows out. There's also a chance that Beef Stew gets in foul trouble because he's guarding Embiid. And then you go through the bodies for Detroit. It's like
it would be like Kevin Knox.
I mean, Knox would be destroyed by
I don't know who can deal with him. That's
no one. Livers, I guess, would have the best chance if he plays. But yeah,
if he doesn't, I was in terms of him not. If he wasn't to play, then I don't know. Yeah, then it opens up. For me, I think a lot of these guys are in play. Beef Stew obviously is a really good play on the slate currently. Sadiq Bey at 4'6", small forward. I don't mind him, but it's hard to prioritize these guys over the Miami or Phoenix guys. I will say this though. Killian Hayes, Ivy, they both see usage bumps with Bogdanovic out. So, these guys in 150 would make my player pool. But it's, like I said at the top, it's tough to really parse through who are the correct plays on Detroit.
I mean, Detroit would be a lot more interesting, like you got to alluded to, on a different slate. But every slate's different. And this slate, they got to get to the back of the line behind. The line starts behind Miami, right? Phoenix possibly as well. There's just better stuff out there.
Yeah.
Sure. And they still have 8 or 9 guys. I guess it depends to some degree. We're giving 20 minutes to Livers. Knox is gonna play. Nerlens kind of has to play. He's gonna back up Stewart. Stewart's an emotional guy, man. I wonder what happens if he gets ejected somehow in this game, or just gets quick fouls. Embiid is gonna wreck. I'm really curious how the field's gonna work with Embiid because we don't know when he's gonna be ruled in or ruled out. Obviously, if he's out, you don't play him. And then we'll be playing the guessing game as far as their starting lineup until it comes out 5 minutes, 10 minutes to lock. Tucker is expected back for what it's worth. So he's the only one Embiid for Philadelphia in question. If Embiid goes, we've seen elevated prices on some of the other players. I think everybody else is kind of sort of a secondary play. But Embiid just feels like such a strong play. And I'm just curious how the field's going to react. Yeah.
We have him for 21% ownership currently. It makes sense in the spot that he's in. We also have a ton of opportunity cost at center with the value. But outside of that, it's Embiid if he goes. If not, you have to figure out who it's going to be between Harrell, Reed, and Tucker. We're not playing Tucker, but Harrell and Reed could see more minutes in that situation. Obviously, because they're just thin with Embiid not playing. So I think I'd prefer Harrell as the guy I'd play in DFS. But outside of that, that would be him in it. Unless outside of Embiid not playing, the only play outside of Embiid playing, the only play I want is Embiid. I'm saying that wrong. And Embiid would be my favorite guy if he plays. If not, it's Harrell, maybe some Harden, maybe some Maxey. That's it though.
But if Harrell goes, I like Isaiah Stewart as is. If you're thinking upside, assuming he dodges foul trouble and plays 30 minutes or so, he's a pretty solid fantasy point minute player. I like Stewart a bit. I think he's a pretty solid play. He's not as good as Robinson, who we'll talk about in a second for Miami. It feels just like an awesome, awesome play.
He becomes a much better play though if it's Harrell defense versus Embiid, right? He's still a very strong player.
But I'm just trying to think like, how much is Harrell in play? He's 4'8".
You have to get him starting.
Yeah, we probably get
Tucker the last time.
It's a small Detroit team. We probably get Tuck starting at the 5. That's my guess, but I don't know. We'll see. We're just kind of guessing now. And this is stuff we'll know before lock. As far as the Detroit side, like Hamidou Diallo is a guy that like is expected to get a fair bit of run. He's basically stone minimum. Again, there's a lot of guys like this on this slate, but we're giving him 26 minutes, 25 fantasy points, 3.5K on DK. On some slates, that is really, really useful. It's not useful, but like, where do you have him amongst these kind of guys on this slate? Is he still back in the line as far as Gabe Vincent and those kind of guys on Miami?
He's back the line, but he's a fantasy point per minute guy. We're giving him 22 minutes, 23 minutes, I would imagine. So
I think 25
minutes. Oh, so yeah. We have him for 26 minutes. I feel like he's still someone I want to play, right? It's not like he's he's 0.6 guy per minute, fantasy point per minute. He's getting almost a fantasy point per minute as is. So at that price tag, I think he's fine. Going to get much less ownership than those other guys on the Heat. Prior to the Heat news, he was going to be the chalk if he started.
I was trying to think if any starters would have to mop up, and I don't think that's the case. I'm guessing they would let Noel go. Joseph might mop. Is Magruder questionable? I didn't run his name off, but I think he was in the list as no, he's back. Magruder should be fine. Okay, so he's a guy that would mop.
Dean.
Knox probably would. Yes.
Friend of the show in chat, KC says Rivers says Joel Embiid foot likely to play Tuesday.
Oh, well, there you go. Thank you, KC. I gotta, we're trying to multitask here. Gotta check the Twitter as well. Not that I don't. Yeah, just dropped a minute ago. But for what it's worth, it says likely to play, which I don't like. I don't like that wording. But
is that not certain enough for you?
Well, why can't you just say the dude's playing? Why we need an adjective here? Is that a descriptive? Yeah, why are we saying likely? Say he's gonna play. I guess they're all likely to play unless something goofy happens, right?
Everyone is likely to play until the game starts.
Yeah, who was the guy in ESPN used to say we're all day to day? I can't remember who that was, but all right. Embiid is he's a smash play here, man. Do you think people are gonna push back on it a little bit, Bobby, because of the delay coming back from injury? And they don't need him to pummel this Detroit team. They're like 14-point favorites. If he wasn't fully healthy and ready to go and ready to smash, I think he would sit. So I think, we can trust that he's just fine. He is the Embiid we know and the, respect and want to roster.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's a great play. People may push back just because of the opportunity cost at center. He's likely going to come in at a good ownership for tournaments. So, yeah, I like him. I would also push back on Isaiah Stewart because he could get in foul trouble if Embiid – he could get in foul trouble right off the rip. If you're playing large field stuff, I'd probably have some Noel in my 150 because of it. But I don't need – we already have this Heat value too, but it's more 150 max play.
I would put a rule, but if you're making 150, max one of Nerlens and Beef Stew. I don't think they would play together. Like unless something really weird's happening. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We'll see. But is that something you would do if you're making 150?
Also, yeah.
Yeah. Favorite Piston? If you're going to pick one of these guys in Detroit, who's your favorite Piston tonight?
Probably be Diallo. But I like Bay also too. So yeah.
We've seen Ivy have some peak games this year. It's kind of few and far between. Like he's fine. He's 10% owned. Stewart, 17%. Hayes, 15%. I think mine's between Stewart and Diallo. If I just want to bank on Stewart, like dodging foul trouble, they're going to push it too. I think like it might be one of those situations where even if he has 3 fouls in the first half, they're not necessarily just saying you must be glued to that chair until the third quarter starts. Just out of necessity, not a need. Just like he'll do his best to dodge it. But I don't know. Your best option behind him is Nerlens Noel, and he can't go much more than 18 minutes, I don't think. And then beyond that, it's maybe if Livers is healthy, right? He's going to play some, but he doesn't play much by far as I know. Interesting. All right. And with Embiid in, Harden, Maxey, Harris, those guys all become secondary plays for me. Harden's fine. Defense, is terrible, but he's fully priced, bumped a little bit more than it has been of late, and Embiid's back, so his usage takes a slight hit. Still can get there, but, not a priority. Agreed?
Yep, I agree. I would put them in my tournament pool. Maxey and Harden have great. They're basically in really good spots, so I'd probably max one of the three between Maxey, Harden, and Embiid.
All right, that is the 7 o'clock game. There are two games at 7:30. The first game on the TNT doubleheader, the Miami Heat, is playing the OKC Thunder. That's a 2-point line. 222 is the total. Miami, we kind of alluded to earlier. If you guys missed it, just joining us now, without 4 of their 5 starters. No Bam, no Hero, no Lowry, no Caleb Martin. And we are also without Duncan Robinson. I like that Udonis Haslem was questionable. They do have nine bodies, and one of those bodies is Udonis Haslem. Another one's Jamal Cain. Another one's Dwayne Dedmon. Like, they are going to play some tight rotations here. I was summoning my inner Breaking Bad there. Tuco. Tight. All right. Just having 3 people out there got my reference, I'm sure, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. Everybody else confused. We're giving 35 minutes to Max Strus, 35 to Butler, 33 to Vincent, 33 to Highsmith, 32 Robinson, 30 to Robinson, 32 Oladipo. He's been getting a bunch of minutes of late. We're giving 4 to Hazlis because, and we'll see if he gets in the rotation. And the matchup against OKC is obviously perfectly fine as well. I guess we should start with Robinson. Currently getting, now this is important because on Fanduel was like way ahead of this. They have the almanac or something because Robinson's 3-1 on DK. On Fanduel, you don't really see this very often as far as the difference in prices. He's 5'7" over there. Actually, still playable. Like, he's playable at 5'7". Not a lock and load, but playable. What are you doing with Robinson? 3-1 is the asking price. We're projecting him for about 30 fantasy points, like basically a 10x if you want to do it that way. 50% ownership, over or under that?
I'm going to be over. I don't know how you can kind of fade that. You can fade it, but I would be playing him. He just makes a ton of sense at 3-1. We have him for 10x his point total. So, I really like Robinson. Jimmy also very much in play, getting all the usage with Bam and Harrow out. He's super strong. Oladipo at 5'3", I like a good bit. Fantasy point per minute guy. You're taking all those guys off the court. It's a very condensed rotation like you hit on. Strus at 4'5". I think he's also a strong play. And then probably Hayward Highsmith. Like him at 3-1. Those would be round out my Miami guys, I guess. Are we Dwayne Dedmon? What do we have for Dwayne? Is he out? What's his 18 minutes?
He's available, but like he's been dealing with I think a foot basically all season long. They have not pushed him basically at all. Like there's many situations where they could have really used him and they still don't push him. I don't see him playing beyond like 20 minutes, and he hasn't been good too. Like in the spurts he's getting, he's been bad. So I don't see it. I don't really see it. If you want to make the argument like it's a leverage play off of Robinson, I guess I kind of sort of hear that, but I think they would play Kane. I would play Kane before I would play Dedmon at 3K.
Yeah, that makes sense. Vincent is the other one that is going to be very highly owned. I do worry about Vincent a little bit. Feel like I'd prefer Robinson and Dwayne Washington, who we'll get to on Phoenix. But if you're playing, Vincent's obviously a very strong play at 3,300 based on the usage, and he's going to be the ball carrier, bring the ball up and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Butler's got the ball a lot too. I was looking at like his. I ran a court IQ, and there's only so much sample size you get when you kick Lowry, Bam, Hero, and Martin off the court. But Jimmy Butler, it was his assist bump per 36, almost 3 assists a bump there. And the sample size is the minutes, 77.7 minutes. Usage isn't crazy to be. I thought it would be a little higher. And again, the sample is monstrous. 26.8% is the usage, which is an increase of 3.5%. Oladipo saw a nice percent as far as usage bump, 6.5%. But this, I think, 36 minutes. I mean, there's only so much sample. I should probably not kick off Martin or something like that. Martin could basically be anybody. Maybe if I run that again and just not kick him off. My least favorite amongst the guys that like on Miami, like for me, I think all the starters are in play. Vincent, Strus, Highsmith, Butler, Robinson. Highsmith, my least favorite out of that group. Not a high usage guy at all. Not a good fantasy point minute guy. 12% usage, fantasy points per minute, 0.66. So he's my least favorite amongst those 5, I guess. Oladipo, and again, this is our projected lineup. Maybe he starts. We'll see. Oladipo's going to play probably 30 minutes if he comes off the bench. Dedmon, not so much. Haslam, not so much. So I think 7 guys you could play. Vincent, Strus, Highsmith, Butler, Robinson, Oladipo, and Kane if you're playing large field stuff. If you want to kind of get away from the Robinson, I think that's an interesting pivot, but understand that can certainly backfire really, really quickly. And we're giving him 20 minutes, and he's been a decent fantasy point minute player on the season. Pulling it up right now as far as trying to find a sample size for it. Is he not in this? Well, in the 23 minutes with Lowry, Bam, and Hero, he's had, 1 fantasy point minute, 23% usage. I want a bigger sample, but he's only played so much anyway. But just I think he's better than Haslam, of course. Like, there's no way playing Haslam and Dedmon as well. And Dedmon's just not been it for me. He's basically, if he has a big night, no chance I'm winning any American dollars this evening. Let's rank. This is just important. We got to talk about the Heat. How much are you prioritizing Butler? 45% ownership.
I'm prioritizing him. I think out of the Heat value, though, well, you can call him about 8,900 in this spot. He's value. Orlando Robinson, Vincent, then Butler, then Highsmith, then Strus, then Highsmith, and then the rest of the bums that they have, Kane, Dedmon.
Don Yeezy's asking Orlando Robinson or Landale. For me, it's pretty clearly Orlando Robinson, but also you're probably asking that for like an ownership thing, and certainly Landale's going to be less owned. Not sure who's going to start for Phoenix. Landale's going to get some run, almost definitely. We'll see what they do against Golden State. He can mop up if that game gets out of hand, but no Ayton. Maybe we see Bismack as the starter. Maybe we see Landale. But I think Orlando Robinson, like more than anything, he's just got a clearer path than those guys.
I think I'm wrong ranking Vincent ahead of Butler. I like Butler ahead of Vincent. Obviously, you're getting the savings with Vincent. They're not. But I think I'd prefer Butler just because he's so high.
Butler just he's got a chance of like getting like a triple double in this game.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, I don't know if like his scoring goes up way up, but he's gonna have the ball in his hands a ton, distributing a ton, and the assist rate's gonna spike. He's got a better chance of grabbing boards. OKC inside isn't like, there's really nobody in the Thunder that's gonna, if Butler goes to the basket, there's no rim protector lurking there. I feel really good about Butler tonight, but so does everybody else. And the chat's already talking about the prospect of him leaving the game due to injury. If you're going to have a draft of players that leave the game due to injury, Butler might be a first-round player. I don't know. But you're not supposed to be playing scared, right? But if you want to work that angle. The other question is, how many Heat players are you willing to put in one lineup? I'm checking out. I'm running some optimals now. I just ran them before the show. Let's see if we have.
You get those 4 for me.
4 are coming up. 1, 2. Let's very first one on DK. Vincent, Strus, Robinson, Butler. Vincent, Strus, Robinson, Butler. Strus, Robinson, Butler. Man, you're going to let it go to 4? I guess you can.
You can. I would do. I think 3 is fine as well. You think max 3 is the best for tournaments?
I don't know. I would say on a different slate where there was not a lot of value, for sure. But because there's so much value out there, right?
Yep.
Maybe 3, but
I
it's a tough call.
I like 3. I'm playing some small field stuff, so I could see in larger field definitely 3. In smaller field, I guess 4. Isaiah
Liver's out, by the way. He has I don't want to face Joel Embiid-itis. He's out with a shoulder. Okay, so whatever. And he wasn't even a guy that can subdue him, but like I was just thinking as far as bodies, it's beef stew and it's Nerlens Noel, and that's it. Like who's the next man and how many minutes can Noel play. Embiid's going to
Noel's
destroy.
minutes have to increase now, right?
Say it again.
Noel's minutes could spike if Isaiah Stewart's out.
Well, how many minutes
If,
can Noel play?
if Stewart gets in a foul trouble, I'm sorry.
Like he's got to be the guy that comes off the bench, but like I'm just trying to think how many minutes he play. I mean, how many would they let him play? What's the most he's played this season? He played 18 back in November. I mean,
I don't think they're going to have a choice. Like, how do they?
Yeah, I mean, Embiid's like, yeah, I'm healthy. I want to go. And like Stewart's got to know this, right? The coach has got to tell him, like, listen, like we need you to stay out of foul trouble. It doesn't always work that way, and it's I'm sure instincts and all that. These guys don't intentionally try to get in foul trouble, but man, there's just nobody left.
He hasn't played more than 18 minutes.
Who is Jared Roden? He's a power forward on DK and a shooting guard on FanDuel. How tall is this person? Is somebody that might be like just asked to go out there? He's 6'6". Okay. Yeah, good luck. Good luck, Jared Roden. If he's playing some 5. Ah man. I love Embiid. I just love it. I'm just really curious what the field's gonna do. Because he's gonna pop. But is the field going to push back and be like, well, first game back, blowouts? I think you're supposed to be over whatever the number is on Embiid. I think you're supposed to be over.
It's supposed to be over on Embiid.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Dedmon and Vincent officially available for what it's worth. So, yeah, 9 guys available from Miami. Again, I wouldn't play Desmond. I wouldn't play Haslam. I think Kane is somebody who'd play in a super ambitious, large field. And I'm not saying you can't play 4 guys on Miami. If you're playing cash, you could play 4 guys on Miami. I should say it's a little bit different on FanDuel. We should mention that because, so FanDuel, first optimal has 3 guys on Phoenix and 2 guys on Miami. And Embiid. 3 guys on Phoenix, 3 guys on Miami. Just kind of running them down. 3 guys on Phoenix, 4 guys on Phoenix. And 2 guys on Miami. Phoenix is priced better in comparative shopping. And like we said, Robinson for 1 in Miami is like 5-7 on FanDuel. He's not unplayable, but he's not like the first man in on like he is on DK.
Should we talk about the other side of this Heat value? Like, there's not a ton outside of Shea on the Thunder. They're full strength. Yeah,
the Heat are playing another basketball team. We should acknowledge that. It's a good point. As is always, right? And the OKC has a bunch of dudes. As far as their injury report, nothing new. Poku's still out. JRE's been out for a long time. They got a bunch of guys. The Williams, I think all the Williams brothers are available. 2 Jalen's, 1 Kenrich. Who knows what their starting lineup's going to be? It's SGA and Giddey or bust, basically. Again, one of these guys might come out of nowhere. Fringe guys might come out of nowhere and do well, but I don't think it's worth digging into. I just don't think, and nobody's really going to smash. Like, they're going to be, a couple of them might maybe get there and be okay. But I think it's basically SGA and maybe some Giddey, but SGA. And that's also for run back purposes too, right? So talk about Alexander.
Yeah, he's just very strong play, always usage, but like it's always going 35% usage rate, 1.56 fantasy points per minute. Like Shea he'd probably be my favorite run back on this OKC team, but they're full strength. Like, it's tough, but it's a 7-game slate. Like, it's not a big slate. So I think he could make your tournament pool for that reason. Also, Giddey, 1.14 fantasy points per minute, pretty much appropriately priced everywhere around the industry. Giddey would be the only other I'd consider on the OKC side.
Yeah, chat's asking about, do we talk about Oladipo? Yeah, we like Oladipo. We like Strus.
We didn't hit on Oladipo, which is funny because
okay. I thought we mentioned him
like forgotten. We mentioned him like in passing, and then I was reading chat, and then I thought to myself, like, I feel like most people are going to do this because Vincent's being spit out a ton in Strus, and Oladipo seems like he's the last Heat guy that's coming up in optimals for whatever reason. Like, I'm even getting Hayward Highsmith out of him.
Yeah, again, Highsmith for me is my least favorite, basically amongst all the playable guys. Well, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, well, when you consider ownership, because he's getting ownership, right, Highsmith? I think he's getting owned to some degree. I don't.
Yeah,
I would play Oladipo before him. Obviously, salary is a thing too. Let's give a refresh and see if ownership has changed. Let's see, because I know it was like as of like an hour ago or so. Yes, okay, we have new ownership. Let's see if we got anything different here for Miami. 49% Orlando Robinson, 44% Butler. Good Lord. 24% Vincent, 21% Strus, 16% Oladipo. Yeah, that holds. I like Oladipo as like the fifth lowest owned out of that
He's
group.
going to be the forgotten man because of construction, right? Like everyone's going to be trying to get to Luka. So they're going to be building with Robinson, Gabe. So he is going to get lost in translation a little out of these Heat guys.
Yeah, so Dwayne Washington's another point guard we'll talk about soon enough. You can throw him a shooting guard, I believe, as well. But yeah, Oladipo's both point guard, shooting guard as well. But that's a good point as far as lineup construction. Oladipo's not getting – there's no small forward tag on him. He's point guard, shooting guard only. He's going to play very likely 30 minutes, 30-ish minutes. Even if he doesn't start, I think he's the sixth man. Decent chance he closes. We'll see. I think he could close over Highsmith. That's what I would guess the closing lineup is. Robinson, Butler, Vincent, Strus, Oladipo. But stay tuned. We'll see. But yeah, I think you're supposed to get over that if it's 16%. And also, if people are putting in rules of 3 Heat players, that's going to kick Oladipo out a little bit more too, I think. Yeah. Do we touch on Strus? How do you feel about Max?
He's fine. I feel like now that I'm seeing Oladipo seems to be coming out less than Strus, I'd probably rank Oladipo ahead of Strus. So it would be Robinson, Butler, Vincent, Oladipo, Strus for me, ranking the top 4 Heat players.
Just a random question in chat. I think it's worth acknowledging. K-Mac wants to know Curry or Mitchell FanDuel tournaments. For me, I have a really clear answer on this one. Curry's first game back in like, a month or so. Looks like a blowout on layaway. How much are they possibly going to push him? And you got Mitchell going up against Utah. I think it's clearly Mitchell over Curry. We're giving 27 minutes to Curry for what it's worth. It's hard to put a number on that, but wouldn't expect his standard, 33, 34.
I'm not even considering playing Curry tonight. That whole team seems like it's priced pretty efficiently.
Or even worse than efficiency, right? Inefficiently.
Yeah.
Right?
Inefficiently.
Yeah, because Curry coming back is like now DiVincenzo is ridiculous. You can't touch that. Or a lot of the guys. He just kind of ruins everybody else.
Mitchell revenge narrative seems tasty for what it's worth.
Yeah, and Mitchell's got a good price on FanDuel too. I think he's like 8.9 or 9.1. I don't recall. It's one of those two. But he's pretty appealing. Him and Lillard is an interesting conversation amongst those two. I think they're in a similar price point. But yeah, I don't think I'm playing Curry either. I wouldn't think he would play his standard minutes his first game back in forever. Is it possible he goes nuts in 27 minutes? I guess, but seems pretty unlikely. Anything else we should say as far as Miami and OKC?
No, I think we've covered it.
Okay. Charlotte, Toronto. This game is the other game at 7:30 before we kind of like relax for an hour and a half. The news on Toronto, they are fully healthy. Well, they lost Otto Porter. He hasn't been playing for a while. Otto Porter apparently is going to be out for the season, shut down with his toe. Charlotte's not officially ruled out. They keep playing this game with Gordon Hayward like 4 or 5 games in a row, it seems like, maybe 6 now, where he's doubtful and then out and doubtful and out. Like, just rule the dude out like 2 weeks ago. What's going on? And Oubre's got that hand, so he's not playing basketball either. But the prices have kind of sort of mostly adjusted. Pascal is one of the stars in the slate that's going to be somewhat lost, right? 15%, not a huge number. Center and center only, but that's going to push his ownership down, of course. But, he plays the second most minutes in all of basketball per game, right behind James Harden. He's played no less than, I think, 38 in his last 10 games. The matchup versus Charlotte plays fast. They play really poor defense. We love to talk about the Knicks last night, even looking at a bad matchup, right? You get 40 minutes out there. You can do some things. Randall and the Brunson burner. Pascal Siakam, got to pay for him, but your thoughts as far as Pascal? I know you're an FEV guy as well. Trent's getting the most ownership right now at 16% on DK. What's your thoughts as far as the Raptors?
I love all these Raptors. 39 minutes for Pascal, 37 for Van Fleet. Barnes we have for 35. OG 37. Gary Trent 37. Like those, that for me, I think all these starters are in play in tournaments. My favorite would obviously be Pascal. Van Fleet would be my second favorite, and then the rest, Barnes, OG, Trent. I'd probably like Trent ahead of Barnes and OG. I think the field does as well. Field likes Trent better than Pascal and Fred Van Fleet, for what it's worth.
I mean, I assume it's a salary thing, and it's also positional because you got small forward, which is useful, right? You got shooting guard / small forward. You can throw it in the F spot and the guard spot as well. Otherwise, nobody gets any minutes. I love their projections. It's so wild. 39 for Pascal, 37 FEV, 35 Barnes, 37 OG, 37 Trent, and like a couple of guys get 13 minutes. just amazing stuff. I'm running another optimal because the chat was talking about it. It's worth noting. I don't mean to keep jumping back, but I did want to jump back, and now that's interesting because Diallo is in the very first optimal I ran. The absence of Livers, we talked about Livers being one of their potential bodies that they would throw at the 5 out of desperation. He's gone. 20 minutes get shut around, meaning that now Diallo looks even better. He's now looking at 29 projected. So just wherever you had him before, give him a little bit of a bump now. 29 minutes, almost 27 fantasy points, projection at 3.5. That's DK as far as the price. And he's also got versatility. It is the first game with shooting guard / small forward eligibility. The Hornets are not getting a lot of love at all. You can always play LaMelo. He's 5 figures, man. So he's 10K flat on DK, 11% ownership. Like you can get it. It's not hard. You have the value pieces. Just sort of shuffle through. I mean, that's something you should do. Just sort of shuffle through all the studs if you want to do that. Nothing about this game says like it's a LaMelo game. It certainly doesn't look like he's going to pay off a 10K tag that where you need him, but he's there if you want him. I don't really like the Hornets at all. As a general thought, changed my mind.
Yeah, I think LaMelo as like a tournament play. He only played 24 minutes the other night, 1.34 fantasy points per minute, 10-1. He's always fine. Maybe you can make a case for Rozier. Leads the team in usage, 31%, with basically Hayward and Oubre out. I don't mind that for getting to Rozier. The rest, like Jalen McDaniels, obviously seeing the minute increase. PJ Washington sees a slight boost in terms of like his usage as well. But there's no one like I'm prioritizing here. You said you feel the same.
Yeah. It's a 7-game slate, but it feels smaller for one reason, like because of this Hornets, this Hornets side. There's a couple other teams like Golden State, just the way it lines up with Steph coming back and then basically being fully healthy. And then everybody was doing well in his absence. Therefore, they're all priced up. Now they're all overpriced because Steph is back and Wiggins is back, right? Like there's some teams you can just sort of throw out and just like you're not playing anybody. So for me, like again, if you're running 150, if you want to get some LaMelo, you think it's the big night for him, I guess, sure, he always can get there theoretically. But to me, it's a very clear scenic route as opposed to a straight clear path for others. If you want to run back on Charlotte, I guess you can do that. You said your favorite player on Charlotte besides LaMelo. You mentioned it. It's you said PJ Washington.
Besides LaMelo, it would be Rozier, but I do think PJ Washington and Jalen McDaniels are like in play for larger field stuff.
Okay, they pumped up that Rozier price. He was like 6'9" on Fanduel not too long ago. It was a pretty good price. Now he's 6'9" on DK. Yeah, he's fine. Yeah,
they're not players like I'm rushing to get to by any means.
Yeah, and as far as Toronto, like ownership wise, most of them are coming in at the teens, right? Pascal 15, Barnes 15, Trent 16. You said you like them all. FEV 14, OG 9. Nobody else gets any ownership because why would they? Your favorite amongst that group is who?
My favorite amongst Toronto is Siakam.
Yeah.
Gary Trent's
Okay.
the best value.
You guys have any questions in the chat? By all means, fire them off. We'll have time. We got, I believe, 4 games left. Yeah, 4 games left. Knock it down. Crunch Time crew coming in at about 6:25 or so. You got Roth. You got Tim TastefulTides, and you have Keith Eyster hooking you all up, giving you cash game plays, tournament plays, the whole deal, answering your questions in chat. And there's no guarantee Roth is going to answer your question in chat for the old. He goes to the Discord first, serves the members, obviously, in the premium Discord. And then if there's time, he'll knock out the questions there. And me, I got plenty of time. We got plenty of time to knock this out. 4 games left. Let's talk about the Cavs. The Cavs at Utah, 226 is the total. We have the Jazz being a 2.5-point dog here. They have been sputtering of late as far as like one-loss stuff. They've lost like 7 of their last 8. I know they came out the gate playing really, really well, overachieving, and Cleveland has been playing better of late. Of course, you mentioned before the revenge game, if you want to call it, sure. I think they're going to cheer them. I feel like Utah is going to cheer them. I don't think there's a ton of bad blood there. They'll give them an ovation. They'll probably put a video up on the board, and I think Mitchell's going to light it up tonight versus the Jazz. As far as injuries in this game, Olynyk is out and THT is out. Olynyk's kind of important because we're projecting Vanderbilt and Kessler to draw the start here against Cleveland, which I think is correct because 2 big bodies on the other side. You're going to need Vanderbilt and Kessler to bang with Mobley and Allen, the 2 bigs for Cleveland. But let's start Mitchell. How much are you prioritizing Donovan Mitchell in this game?
He's definitely my favorite play in the game. I'll be overweight in tournaments. I think it's a good revenge spot. There was some bad blood, wasn't there? I feel like something came out in the news
with Donovan.
With Donovan around like his time in Utah. I think this was pretty recently. I like Mitchell at 9.7. Evan Mobley's at a very good price at 6.3. So is Jared Allen. In the context of the slate, though, there's a ton of opportunity cost at center. But we've talked about like Siakam. We've talked about it. This is why I don't think Embiid will be like as highly owned as we think, or Siakam for that reason, because we have so many centers, and then all the values at center.
Well, Robinson's taking up like 50%. Like there's 4 slots theoretically, right? Well, no, well, 2 slots. If you're counting, so 200%. If you're counting the utility spot as a center spot, do it that way. It's not automatically that way, but you can. But Robinson, we think, is going to get 50% of the center spots right there. We talk about Beef Stew being a pretty good value play. We mentioned Pascal liking him center and center only. So yeah, I'm not sure how much Embiid's going to get. Also, very first game out the gate, which you never really know. Some people like to wait and see how things develop. They don't want to pot commit. There's the blowout. There's always coming back from injury. They might keep it slow. I don't know, man. I'm really curious to see what that ownership's going to be.
No, I am too. I think it's super interesting. In Siakam's pretty much the same case. Like he's 10-1. Like he's center only. Like I think people might want to go up to Embiid, but Siakam plays later, so maybe they'd prefer Siakam if they're waiting. I don't know. It's tough, but both the ownership on those 2 players is going to be pushed down just for the reason of just opportunity cost at the position. Garland, I think, is in play at 7.7. These aren't guys like I'm necessarily rushing to get to. Mitchell would be my favorite. They pretty much have a full squad, right?
Yeah, Cleveland, I believe, is fully. Yeah. I mean, Dean Wade's been out forever. Doesn't matter. Windler's been out forever. Doesn't matter. Yeah, they're fully healthy. Utah is dinged with Olynyk being out and THT. Sometimes matters, sometimes not really. But Olynyk's the big one there, which I think we're going to see the rookie jump into the starting lineup. Walker Kessler, another center, who's like interesting at 4.7. He's also super handsy. Pretty good fantasy point better player. But like again, on another slate, he'd be interesting. But this one, maybe 6, 7, 8%. I'm not sure where we're at as far as him on the Utah side. I wonder who they close with. I'm always Utah. You never really know, but Olynyk being thrown to the side. Sometimes they'll close with Beasley. Sometimes they won't. But again, Cleveland having those 2 bigs, maybe they close Kessler, Vanderbilt. It's possible. I don't think those guys have played a ton together They've been doing it more so of late, partially because of injuries.
It would be at most one between Vanderbilt and Kessler, correct? I know they've been playing a little bit together.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, probably. I guess theoretically they both can get there, but Fontecchio is back as well. But he's like a big dude that just mostly stays outside and shoots threes, and he's probably not going to play much anyway. Just trying to think, unless he gets hot from three. Who's that other guy that's like been firing for him of late? I can't pronounce his name. I was looking it up the other day, and I was trying to Agbaji, I think it's how you pronounce it. He'll get some run. He's played, 17, 21, and 21 his last 4 games. Looks like a pretty decent 3-point shooter. Just a guy that's going to be on the court. Just trying to think of as far as their minutes and how much they're squeezed. How about the bigs? We know Utah is super, super vulnerable inside, right? They give up all their points inside. I think they still lead the league as far as giving up points in the paint. I think they still lead the league as far as subduing the most threes. They are a paint funnel. How do we feel about Mobley and Allen? Who do you prefer amongst the two bigs on Cleveland?
I like them. I feel like I prefer Mobley, and I think it's because he has the power forward eligibility, but I think they're both in play in tournaments. Just because it's a great spot for the two of them. The issue with Allen is he's center only, and we've talked about the issue at center. But I think they're both definitely in play in tournaments.
Is that a smoke alarm going off? Are we okay? Is that my house?
Yeah, it's a smoke alarm.
Okay. Do you need to tend to anything, or is everything all good? Is that
we've been blacking out windows for my kid to go to sleep and stuff. It's like the last thing we're trying to figure, because we get a lot of sunlight. It's this week's been crazy, so we'll get to it eventually.
Conscious Machine, Ken Rich. Thoughts on Ken Rich 3,900 utility? I mean,
they're full squad, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't. He might start. He might not start. He might play 27 minutes. He might play 17. To me, it just seems unnecessary. Like, I think you can do better. I don't know who you have as far as your cheapie, but Jared Allen has power forward center eligibility on FanDuel. That's important to know. Good job, Kenny. So it makes Allen more playable on FanDuel. Yeah, I guess you would agree with that. Some versatility.
I would agree. Yep.
We got to do better than. I think you can do better than 3,900 Ken Rich at utility. I don't think he's going to be in my pool. There's a chance he starts, but at OKC, man, it's just. I don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Vanderbilt and Kessler are interesting pivots off of, like, say, an Isaiah Stewart, maybe.
Yeah,
more Vanderbilt at 5'5", but.
He has those games. Like, he's not going to score a ton, but he has those games where he gets like 15 rebounds and 5 stocks.
I really worry about Isaiah Stewart versus Embiid now.
They got to be talking to him pregame, and just being like, listen, you can't foul. Like, look at this dude. This guy is dust that we're going to throw in there. He's probably going to. Let me ask you this: 5.5 is the over/under. Well, you got the over, the under as far as Beef Stew fouls tonight. Does he get all 6? Does he knock them all out?
He gets 5.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and Noel, maybe Noel like surprises us and plays 25 minutes and is like usable. I don't know. We haven't seen it in a long time. Once upon a time, we used to play him as a punt. Yeah, Michael.
Maybe there's that extra. Not that I doubt he cares, but.
Yeah, Michael in chat's talking about Stewart. I think he's a Detroit guy, and he's saying like he just fouled. Yeah, he's been in this situation before, and he just fouls. Yeah, that's what I've seen him do too. He's just
do that tonight, though. They have no one.
Yeah, and you try stopping this 7-foot guy who's just going to dunk on the world, and good luck. You accidentally foul, I think. If not, even not to. All right. Anything else of note? Go ahead.
I wrote up Lauri Markkanen earlier today in tournaments. I just think everyone's going to be on all these other. The issue is now, like, we have so much. There's so much value. He's 9.7. Feel like he's fine in your player pool. Little revenge narrative for Lauri too. It's going to go. Lauri's been fine every time I've rostered him this year, so
The price feels outrageous because he was like $6K to start, like $5 or $6K to start.
Yeah,
but he's paid it off at like every level. Like he's had ceiling games where he put like literally 50 points in the bucket. Like it's happened before. And I think that price is going to really hold him down as far as ownership. Yeah, like he's 9.7 on DK, and we're looking at less than 6% ownership. Like it's not a good math play, but I definitely agree that like he should be in your pool. He's certainly going to put up like 60 points. Like it wouldn't be shocking. But he's 8-2 on Fanduel. It's like rarely do you see. That's one of the few like guys that are really, really more play handle than DK today. It feels like Fanduel's tighter. But 8-2 on Fanduel feels much more comfortable, obviously, than 9.7 on DK. So the ownership's reflecting that 20% ownership on Fanduel, 5% on DK. Clarkson, Conley, they're just like fine, I guess, but not going on my way for them. Is that where you're at as well?
Clarkson and Conley. Clarkson, revenge also. Dean, you're the big revenge guy.
I don't know what the history is with him. Like the falling out with Cleveland, I have no idea if it was amicable.
It's a tough matchup versus this Cleveland squad, I will say, for Clarkson. He can score in bunches, though. If you want to go there, I guess. Be my guest, but I don't think I'll have him. On the other side of that, Conley is a guy that I hate rostering. I just hate rostering him. He's been better of late, but on this slate, he's not for me.
Clarkson, by the way, at 1% is kind of interesting. I will say that. That just seems a tick too low. Like, get 3% and you're over the field, right? The projection's correct. Maybe he's 2% out. I don't know. He's not going to be higher than 5. Unless something weird happens going forward. Kessler getting 5%. We're giving him 27 minutes. Basically a fantasy point minute guy. That's fine. But again, he's one of a bunch of centers we like. Who scores more, Luka or Embiid? Both project for even ownership. Well, I mean, as far as raw points, I would take Luka over Embiid, right? I assume it's like at least a 5-point difference. I'm not bold enough to say that Embiid's going to out. That's not my hot take. If this was the expert survey, we kind of fill out every single time. Yeah, raw points. Let's see. We actually only have Luka projecting for about 3 more points than Embiid. Our projections love Embiid. So, yeah, that's not terribly surprising. Braun wants to know if we do player props. We do them with scores and odds. Check out scoresandodds.com. Write a bunch of stuff up. And you can apply a lot of our projections to player props. If you have any questions, by all means, do our best to kind of adapt that thought process over. You can get our projections actually broken down individually, not just by fantasy point projection, but just if you go on the site, if you have premium, it'll tell you he's projected for this many points, this many rebounds, this many assists, this much PRA. You can dive into all that stuff if you have premium, or just check out the scores and odds product. And a lot of experts are giving you write-ups and their favorite plays of the day. Check out Grant stuff, Noto. I contribute sometimes. I wrote up a couple plays there today. Feel free to check out scoresandodds.com. Do we have anything else to say as far as this Utah game, or are we moving on?
Not much. I think we can move on.
I see a question in chat. Nathan, who would you take between it's 3v3. Okay. Oh boy. 3v3 question. We asked for questions, we're getting them, and now they're tough. K-Mac wants to know Gabe Vincent versus Vincent versus Alexander Walker. Gotta be Vincent, right? What are we projecting for I know that THT is out, but we're still not giving a lot. We're giving 9 minutes, 15 fantasy points. I think it's pretty clearly Vincent. You're being really ambitious if you want to take over Vincent. Yeah, so a 3v3. Lillard, Strus, Leonard, or Luka, Man. I'm assuming that's Clippers, Man.
I'm going to go 2.
And Stewart. Man and Strus slight edge. Oof, man, I don't know, man. I'm glad I'm asking the question. I don't have a good take on that. I would need to pen and paper out.
I'm going to go 2.
Yeah, you like the Luka, Man, Stewart combination. Fair enough. We'll talk about Terrence Mann and the Clippers soon enough. 3 games to go. I see questions being asked about them now. Their situation's changed. Okay, so that's a 9 o'clock game. There's 3 games late. Orlando and Portland. Orlando, 228.5 is the total here. Orlando's in the back half of a back-to-back. They got walloped last night in Sacramento. They lit the beam there in Sacramento. All right, 8-point here for Portland. It is Bull expected back from his he was on the conditioning COVID list. Nurkic expected to be able to play. Payton expected to be able to go. Of course, Winslow still out for Portland. So, again, one of those questions that we get in the expert survey sometimes, like, what's the team that's your least favorite? Orlando on the back-to-back and traveling and getting Bull back. I assume he's going to get some run. We'll see. Maybe they bring him back slowly, but I do not like this Orlando team tonight. How do you feel about the Magic? Is there anybody you think I should pay attention to, acknowledge? I'm not really on Orlando at all.
I have 0 Orlando guys.
Okay. Ownership-wise, for what it's worth, Fultz getting 8%, Banchero getting 6%, Franz Wagner 4%. There's some pieces. We're giving Bull 15 minutes, so we're bringing him along slowly. It's a tough projection to make, but that's where he's at. Just Orlando's just pretty uneventful. Carter took a tough hit last night. I guess he did come back, so I assume he's fine, but, wouldn't be shocked if something pops up with Carter, but not expecting that. Portland, you want another center? Nurkic is 6'1" on DK, which seems kind of egregious. And was this on Friday when yourself and Kirkwood were talking about Nurkic, and was it a matchup against, was it Toronto or Indiana? That's what it was. He played 32 minutes, and I was like, well, of course, if he gets the minutes, yeah, and we never really know how many minutes he's going to get. He played 32 against Indiana. He fully smashed. He was pretty fairly priced there, too. 6K.
I think that was Kirkwood's call on Nurkic.
We had that conversation about it, and it's the same sort of thing. You're shooting for upside. He's a great upside play. How do you feel about Nurkic tonight? You never really know what those minutes. Even at 27, I think we're giving him 28. We're giving him 34 fantasy points at 6'1", which is fine. But it can go up, it can go down. What if he plays 32 or 33? If you put 32 in, you mainly put in there, like he's like fully smashing. Nurkic, and then there's Lillard. Like, who's going to stop Lillard on Orlando? No one?
The starters for Portland, I think, are definitely in play. Nurkic would probably be my favorite. I don't think Orlando is going to be able to – the question is the minutes, right? And at a center position where it fluctuates. Maybe we're chasing him a little bit. But I think he'd be my favorite. Lillard, I think, is a good tournament play as well. I think he can get to the Jeremy Grants, the Anthony Simmons, and the Josh Harts of the world. More in like they could make my player pool, but outside of that, like, I don't have a ton of love for these guys overall. Nurkic would probably be my favorite.
Mr. Gerg wants to know who is the greatest number 69 of all time to wear a uniform number 69. Sure, it's just a random number he pulled out of nowhere. That's got to be Jared Allen, right? Jared Allen, the greatest number 69. We played this game last night. I don't know if 69 came up. Maybe there's somebody we're missing, but I think it's Jared Allen. Mr. Plow wants to know the name again, Mr. Plow. Talking about last night being a balance build winner. Is tonight Stars and Scrubs or more balanced? It feels pretty Stars and Scrubsy to me, man. It's like
it feels Stars and like last night. People were trying to make Stars and Scrubs work, but I feel like the value and optimals it really wasn't showing. Just the value was a little bit shaky tonight. Like Orlando Robinson, Dwayne Washington, who we'll talk about in a minute here. They're just very good value pieces. So I think it's more of a Stars and Scrubs slate getting up to Luka. If you wanted to flip the build and go balance, I think that's always in play too in NBA. But yeah,
what is the balance build? Like, what would you call a balance build tonight? Like, your most expensive player is Jimmy Butler, maybe? Is that like a balance build? Or Mitchell's like your most expensive player?
Maybe like a Mitchell being my most expensive, yeah.
Yeah, just trying to picture like how people define that.
Mitchell's 96, probably Mitchell being my most expensive.
Yeah.
Or like a Siakam being my most expensive, I get. Well, Siakam's 10-1,
so basically like not playing Luka. It's kind of like
basically not playing Luka, yeah. Or Embiid.
Yeah, Luka or Embiid, I guess, is I ran the optimals. Let's see. This is DK for what it's worth. The only one that hit my threshold of like a cap of 74% was Orlando Robinson. Next up was Jimmy Butler, then Isaiah Stewart, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus. So 4 of the first 5 in optimals, at least 50%. And 50% of lineups are Heat players. Then, wait, something goofy happened here. Why is so DeAndre Ayton's in some optimals? We got to cross him off the list. Not really sure what's going on there. Gotta give it the old refresh because Ayton, hey, he's got a body part. He's not playing basketball tonight. So, and thanks, Sarah, for the kind words there in chat. Yeah, we had ourselves a nice little night last night. I'm not gonna do the gritty to celebrate my potential. I almost took down the $4. I won the
why won't you do the gritty?
Well, that's just not in my repertoire. And
if we get 150 likes, Dean will do the gritty live on air.
No, yeah, he will.
Because you can't be any worse than some of the ones we've seen in NFL this year.
Who's the tight end for the Dolphins? You got
like
made fun of for doing it. Why am I losing his name? Did you say his name? Tight end for the Dolphins?
Gesicki, Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, that's it. I'm too old to do the gritty.
We definitely have to get the likes up for Dean to do this gritty.
It's not happening, for the record, to be clear. It's just not in my repertoire.
It's happening. Don't worry, everybody. Get those like buttons up.
I had to go on the TikTok and learn how to, like a tutorial on how to do the gritty legitimately. But any news sprinkling in? JRE gonna be out for a while, not a big deal. Nothing else coming in as far as injuries and body parts. Is there anything else to say as far as Portland and Charlotte? To me, this seems like one of the more uneventful games. Portland side, of course, you can play Nurkic. Of course, you can play Lillard. Don't hate Simons, Grant, whatever, if you want to sprinkle them in. But, and the minutes have been up for Portland, and we're getting big projections. 37 for Lillard. It's not exactly Nick Nurse-like or Tibbs-like, but it's on the fringe of that. It's getting close, except for Nurkic, of course. But we have seen him play low to mid-30s, which if he gets that tonight versus Orlando, that can definitely get you home.
You're not saying you're not being a team player, Dean.
I just don't have the capability. This is not in the old repertoire. It's not in the utility belt, unfortunately. It's just not. Like, I don't have it anymore. If you would have caught me like 15 years ago, like maybe we could have busted it out. But, I got nothing for you.
Were you light on your feet, Dean?
I was fast, yeah.
I don't think Bobby's seen the buff Dean photo.
No, I think I have.
Oh, yeah? All right, good. Yeah, that's a gym.
It's been a rough off season for me. Max Strus or Malik Beasley. I think Strus is much, 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 much safer.
Because we don't know if Beasley's closing, correct? Like, it could be Vanderbilt or Kessler.
Correct. And Beasley's just like super reliant on scoring. Like, is he going to make 6 threes? Maybe. If he doesn't make a couple threes, you're buried. And that's just how it goes. Like, that's the analysis. I don't know what to tell you. But that's what it is. Phoenix and Golden State, 231 is a total 12-point line here. Golden State's heavily favored. Back half of the TNT doubleheader. We're expected to get Steph back tonight. Phoenix not cooperating as far as playing players. Well, Chris Paul's got a hip. Ayton's got an ankle, I believe. Campaign's out. All the Cams. Campaign, Cam Johnson. Devin Booker is out. Shamet and Craig are both currently questionable. They're down to 10. They would be really, really in a lot of trouble if those guys don't play. I think they're going to play. My guess is they play, but we'll see. Stay tuned. The big one to me is Dwayne Washington. I'm not sure if he's going to start or not, but, you look at his usage. His usage is off the table. Like, really, really pops. It's actually pretty big, like, as is, but, like, when we kick off, the stars and Paul and Ayton and Dayton and Booker, Washington gets really, really strong as far as fantasy points per minute, as far as his usage. But all these guys are pretty interesting to various degrees. We don't know who's going to start at center. We may get Jock Lando. We may get Bismack Biyombo. Bismack Stone minimum. They're probably – what are we doing? Are we chopping those minutes? I'm assuming we got 24. Meant to pull it.
I think they'll probably be chopped, yep.
Let's see. We're giving Jock 22, and we're giving Bismack 24. So we're not even giving the full 48. But they're both decent fantasy point minute players. Damian Lee, if you want to bank on revenge / like mop it up, he's just a guy that can get some run Like we're giving him 25 minutes and he's playable. He's like 3-4, but you're kind of also betting on the blowout there. If this game stays close, it's probably because Bridges is playing well and Shamit's playing well. Well, what's your approach as far as the Suns? Because the other part is like it's really hard to play any run backs on Golden State. Nobody getting more than 4% ownership on the Warriors. No one. Because Steph coming back. We talked about that.
Yeah, I have zero interest in the Warriors. On the Phoenix side, like Dwayne Washington, he grades out so well. The usage is very high in this scenario. 35% on the year with Booker and Paul out. I like getting to Washington just makes a lot of sense. Ayton's going to get lost in translation situation like this, 26% usage rate, Shamet 25%. Bridges is going to see a bunch of minutes, not a ton in terms of usage changes for Bridges though, within this scenario. Lockdale, Biyombo probably split minutes. I think I prefer Landale over Biyombo. And Damian Lee's just not a high fantasy point per minute guy. I guess he could get mob up duty, but not as intrigued with him as I'd much prefer getting to a Shamet.
Yeah, I agree. He's a 150 guy. He's a
150 guy. Yeah. I'd much prefer getting to Landale. Is there any way Okogie gets run here? No.
He would mop up.
Yeah,
we're giving him 12 minutes, but it doesn't seem necessary.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
It's hard, really hard for me to justify.
If Craig was out, he might see more increase in minutes. I don't know. I'm not really concerned with those guys too much. Lee would probably be my favorite, but more of a 150 play.
And it looks like we lost Dean.
This is going to be interesting, guys.
Yeah, here we go. Maybe we lost the internet, but we'll see if we can get him back soon. Do you guys have any more to go over on that game?
Not really. Just that Washington's a very strong play in this situation. Should be getting to him. I think Landale's in play. He'd probably be my second favorite. Then I'd go Shamet. Saric. I wonder what we have for Saric minutes. I just want to see.
It's like 21.
I'm for 21. He's at 3-3. I feel like he was showing better earlier in the day prior to this Heat news, but I still think he's fine. Biyombo at 3K. We have Biyombo for 24 minutes. So maybe Biyombo is a better play than Saric.
We had a question earlier.
In large field stuff.
We had a question earlier. Robinson or Landale for GPP?
It'd be Robinson.
Yeah.
I don't think Robinson's a complete lock, I would say.
And we're still waiting on the Phoenix news. So if that doesn't land the right way, then that might not be as good of a play as you thought. And look who it is. Old Daniel's back.
Dude, that was weird. I don't know what just happened, but StreamYard just gave me the boot. I don't know. Did I say the wrong word?
Just leave me on here. It's crazy.
Somebody said the internet heard Dean Mike Gritty and shut it down.
That's a good call. Yeah, I heard it. I'm like, how close to the 150?
Well, Dean, I think we just finished up Phoenix. If you want to step on in.
Yeah. Shamet or Isaiah Stewart on DK. Someone asked. Two different positions, right?
See the question?
Shamet or Isaiah Stewart on DK, two different positions.
Yeah, it's probably, I assume that's a utility spot, which, by the way, Stewart shouldn't be utility. He's playing 7 o'clock, but that's a whole other conversation. Unless you're playing Embiid. Maybe you're playing Embiid and Stewart. Then you can play him at utility. No, he's a power forward, right? He shouldn't be in your utility spot. Almost under any circumstance, he should not be in your utility spot. There you go. Man, I don't know. That's a tricky one because Shamet, we should know just that we're not certain Shamet's playing. He's questionable. And we're not certain Craig's playing. He's questionable.
And we're also not certain that Stewart's going to be able to last versus Embiid.
He's going to try, though.
He's going to try to, but he's the only big if he gets in foul trouble. I'd say Stewart, but I might leave myself the opportunity, just a late swap equity.
Do we have a what
but
if?
There isn't late swap equity because they play different positions and you don't use them in the utility. So Stewart's the better play.
Derek in chat saying, if Shamet out, pivot to Powell, Derek in chat says.
Well, if Shamet's out, you want to have Dwayne Washington. Dwayne Washington will be projected for 36 minutes and 44 DK points. So that's a monster number. But again, I don't know how likely this is. Washington looks good as is, and he can get really, really good if Shamet or Craig are out. Shamet more so as far as ball handlers, but yeah, I don't mind Powell either. We should mention that the last game, of course, Dallas is taking on the Clippers. I'm trying to get to my page as I'm buying some time. 223.5 is the total. It's not particularly high, but it is tight. Clippers just a 1-point dog here. As far as the body parts, who's in and who's out, Paul George, no basketball for him tonight, as well as Luke Kennard. Dallas without DFS, without Kleber, without Josh Green. Luka ruled back in earlier today, participated in shoot around. You have all the money in the world for Luka. That's not an issue. Kawhi should be better in the absence of George. We saw this Clipper lineup change last time where Terrence Mann drew the start. Arjax got basically buried on the bench. We'll see if that continues going forward. I would not be surprised if that's the case. There's another cheapie on the slate. We don't necessarily need it, right, Bobby? But it's there. How do you feel about Terrence Mann and the Clippers in general?
I like Terrence Mann. I think he's a good play. 0.88 fantasy points per minute, 4K on DK. Like, I definitely prefer him to Wall or Reggie Jackson. I would be playing Mann ahead of both of those guys. I think Mann's a good play. Kawhi, 28% usage rate, 1.16 fantasy points per minute, no longer on a minutes limit. Like him in the spot with George out. Think he's a good play. The only other Clippers I'd be considering are Powell, Morris, and Batum. But I think I would prefer Mann to the majority, to all three of those guys.
If you're playing Luka, how much are you trying to play at least one of like these Clippers, a Kawhi or a Mann? Like, how much are you forcing that? Of course, you can play Luka by himself, but are you trying to force that?
I think Luka's the only play on the Mavericks side, and I don't think you have to force that.
Yeah. You could play some Wood if you want. It's a little bit overpriced, but again, you have the salary if you want to play for it. Did you mention Zubac? He's just another center that's going to be.
So he is someone who's definitely getting lost in translation, and I think he is a very strong tournament play. Did not mention Zubac, but I have him as one of the guys that I'm trying to get overweight on in tournaments currently.
Got a pretty good price on DK at 5.2. Decent shot at getting a double-double here. We're giving him 30 minutes. There's some volatility in those minutes sometimes, but 30 minutes at 5.2, he probably gets there. Dallas, obviously, not the best matchup in terms of pace. So the slowest team in the league, or bottom two, bottom three. I haven't checked in like a day or two, but, they play slow. Questions in chat. Feel free to knock out some
questions. A good one, Diallo or Mann. I think it would be Diallo for me.
Yeah.
If you want to save yourself this late swap equity, you can play Mann. I think it would be Diallo for me. Why is it Mann for you?
Well, if you look at our projections, we got Diallo ahead by a couple points, but it also puts you like, what is the value of having a guy at a spot at 10:30? Stuff could happen. What if weird stuff happens with Phoenix? What if we actually do get the Washington show in Phoenix? It's a tough call. Does Diallo mop up versus Philadelphia? I think he does, right? If that game gets ugly, just kind of look at that. Like, they're down by 20 with 3 minutes to go. Maybe he doesn't. So Roden probably is out there. Magruder's probably out there. Maybe not Noel. I don't know. Knox out there. I'm not sure about Burks. Like, Burks is not a guy. Like, he's old. I don't know if he plays a full mop-up zone. He's a guy who comes off the bench and probably doesn't mop up. There's a chance Diallo gets the mop. Like, he might start and mop. And we're not even starting to blows out. I'm just trying to think that scenario out. But they're, 14-point dogs. That's a huge number. I think you're asking what the value is of having a guy late, and would you give up 1 or 2 points?
I would be willing to. I think Diallo's a good play. Obviously, Terrence Mann's a good play as well. I just think on the slate, Diallo, if he's starting, is a very strong play. Well,
Kenny wants to know about Looney. I mean, we talked about so many centers we like. Looney just sort of is what he is. He's going to put up his 25 points. There's like no chance he breaks the slate, right? Like, I'm not playing Looney. None. Like, he only gets to, No. Like he's at best he like doesn't hurt you. Is that a fair assessment? Are you playing Looney? I can't do it.
I think Looney, Draymond, and Clay are probably the only three players in play for that Golden State team, but they're not guys that you need to get to at all on the slate. Curry, if Curry were out, Poole would get more usage. He'd be a good play, but still not guys I'm prioritizing.
With Devin available, does that hurt Robinson? I don't think so.
No.
Like I think Robinson's well ahead of Dedmon right now. I really do. And I like I said, if somebody's going to steal minutes from Robinson, like if somebody's going to steal that shine, I think it's more likely to be Jamal Cain. OKC plays pretty small. Dedmon's been bad all year. He's been dealing with injuries all year. They haven't pushed him at all year. So I'm not playing Dedmon. It's not happening for me. Do you have a favorite stack? Is that a favorite game stack? Because, we talk about 4 Heat players, but don't really love the run backs in OKC. Maybe just I like the idea of Embiid and a couple Pistons, maybe. I think that's something we can do. But a lot of these games, a lot of them don't really correlate with each other. I guess you can run maybe some skinny stacks, like Donovan and Markkanen, something like that could be kind of fun. That's like I guess that's kind of a mid-tier.
That's like a mid-tier, yeah.
Is anything like that kind of popping out for you? Kawhi and Luka?
Not really. Like Luka and Kawhi are definitely going to hit optimals together. If it happens organically, it's fine. It doesn't seem like a slate that's very correlated. I guess you could make the case, like you said, Detroit and getting like some Diallo and Embiid or Bay and Embiid, but then you're locking up a lot. Kawhi and Luka would be the main one. Luka does not have the greatest defense first archetype, but that doesn't matter with Luka. So.
I mean, it's Luka. There's also no Paul George there, one of the better defenders. Man versus Vincent's an interesting question. Who do you prefer amongst those two? Like that's the thing. Like if I already have 3 Miami guys, you know what I mean? Do I force a 4th Miami guy, Vincent, or do I take Man? I'd probably take Man.
Yeah, I think I'd probably take Man too. I don't like maybe you're leaving your I would probably take Man over Vincent.
It's close. It's close.
It's very close. Man's just they're both gonna have the ball. I think I'd just leave myself the late swap equity. Vincent's a very strong play though.
Washington, Man, or Vincent amongst let's throw Washington in the conversation. I think Washington's my favorite of those 3. Our projections really like him. And again, we're just giving him 25 minutes and he's still getting there pretty clean at 30 plus fantasy points. And again, there's also a path to potentially even more opportunity if we get 2 current players are questionable. They're down to 10 bodies. Theoretically, they could be down to 8. I think they're going to play, but just kind of keep an eye on Craig and Shamet. Thoughts on Mitchell back in Utah? Yeah, we talked about that. We both like Mitchell, right?
Yeah, I think we both like Mitchell. He's just we really don't play revenge. I think this is in play for Mitchell here tonight, though.
Crunch time crews in the wings.
Y'all hit the like button for the Crunch Time crew. They're coming in momentarily. Kevin Roth, TastefulTides, Tim, Keith Eyster got the call up. Eyes, you're on the big show today. What's up, boys? How are things? How are things in your world there, Roth?
I mean, we're not doing as good as you with the big GPP winner last night.
Well, all you have to do is play the Brunson burner, right? And then you're halfway home, basically.
That's all you got. You just do it every night until he's priced at $11K. Just keep doing it.
We're an hour and 25 into the show, and Dean has not yet once bragged about his win.
How is that possible? Dean, come on, man. Seriously, good work.
Thank you.
He wouldn't even gritty. He wouldn't even gritty.
Would that qualify as bragging about winning a celebratory GPP takedown? Again, not capable. Can you bust out a gritty, Roth, if called upon, necessary, if the situation called for it?
I was actually practicing the other day. Yeah, I was practicing just in case, like at the Super Bowl party, in case it's
you would have practiced the gritty.
What scenario would call for?
I don't know, but I'm going to be ready in case it does.
In a pinch, yeah. I'll bring some ones. I'll be ready too. It'll be a good time for sure. Yeah, you got anything else for the boys here, Bobby? We should probably step aside and let them knock out the crunch time show. Unless any other crosstalk on anybody's mind, feel free to fire it out there.
Good luck, guys.
All right. Do appreciate y'all watching the first portion. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. And Roth, Keith, Tim, they're going to take y'all home. Roth, take it away.
Appreciate it as always, Dino, and congratulations, man. Really modest Dean, just like crushing tournaments left and right. Hey, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz tonight. One, it is Mr. Keith Eyster, aka the Iceman. That's what his friends called him in high school, or like someone called him that once, and now I'm sticking with it. What up, Ice? How are you?
Doing good. Another fun slate tonight. We kind of talked about it yesterday. NBA has a really fantasy-friendly schedule all week long. We have that like sweet spot between 6 and 8 games. So another 7-gamer here. That's like the perfect size for NBA, in my opinion. We have all kinds of value all over the place. So this should be a fun one.
Very good. Okay, looking forward to your analysis. We got Tim as well, aka TastefulTides. Tim, you feeling the same way about this slate? You like what you see?
Yeah, I like the size of the slate. It's definitely different ways that you can go for tournaments, and a couple different ways I think you can go for cash games as well. So I'm excited to break it down.
Okay, very good. Well, excited to get your content here. Which of you is in the mood to do a little cash?
I'll do cash if that's all right with Keith.
Yep, that's totally fine with me.
Yeah, okay, that works. Hey, before we talk about what we're going to do over on FanDuel, which is where we will start, a few quick things to note. Make sure you signed up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. New customers bet $5 on any market, get $150 in free bets. Unless you're in Ohio, then it's $200 in free bets. And then there's an extra special offer if you live in Michigan, New Jersey, West Virginia, or Pennsylvania. You get 6 months of RG and Scores and Odds Premium for free when you sign up for the FanDuel Casino. Make a deposit of $10 or more, place your first casino bet. So that is really good value there to be getting that with free RG and free Scores and Odds. So make sure you are checking that out. Speaking of our wonderful sponsor, FanDuel, let's break down what we're doing, Tim, as an overview here, and kind of walk me through a FanDuel cash build.
Yeah, so there's tons of value tonight. Whether it be Detroit, Miami, Phoenix. Those are the teams that you're going to be looking to attack in terms of your, salary saving type options. There's plenty of good value today, both in cash games and GPPs. It's a little different between the sites how we kind of break that down. But for FanDuel purposes, I think that it's so incredibly easy to play Luka. So I'm starting off my cash build with Luka right away. I'm not going to bury the lead. Like you're playing Luka in cash games tonight. It's just too easy not to.
Yeah.
So and then there's two really, really valuable guards tonight, and that's Dwayne Washington and Gabe Vincent. Those are your cheap value guards that I think are they're your kind of your core plays for cash. Like you've got to have those guys in for your cash game lineups. So it's I think those are like the three cornerstones of my cash team. I ran some optimals before I got on the show, and the big difference that I'm seeing in terms of what I want to do, what the optimizers are telling me is Mikal Bridges for the Suns. He's picking up a lot of he's showing up in a lot of optimals, and we have him projected for 38 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm looking at his projected own at 45% there.
Yeah, and I'm not worried about ownership for cash games,
Sure.
but I'm just worried about the projected minutes. Like I think this game's gonna end up being a blowout, and I don't think he ends up getting 38 minutes. And he's not a high usage guy, so that's the kind of where my mind is disagreeing with optimizers, which I could obviously be wrong about. But I don't want to play Bridges in cash games. Like I don't think his role. He's not gonna like Phoenix is super shorthanded. And I don't think he's going to take over the alpha role. That's not his style of ball. So it's just, I don't think he gets 38 minutes. So he is not a guy that I like, but that could just be my brain kind of being too much like into single entries and GPPs. So If people want to follow the optimizers, that's fine. But I'm off of Bridges for cash games. I think that we need to go down a little bit. There's two guys on FanDuel that I like quite a bit, and that's Diallo and Terrence Mann. So I'm trying to save money at kind of the small forward position, where the optimizers want you to spend up to Bridges. So, yeah, and then Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is another core play. Miami's another short-handed team, so they're gonna, and that spread is super close. So Miami and Oklahoma City, it's only a 2-point spread, and Miami's extremely short-handed. So Jimmy's gonna do a lot of DFS scoring for us tonight.
Okay, you kind of only mentioned, I think, one power forward, that being Jimmy.
Yep.
You want to kind of go through maybe forward a little bit more and then also talk about center?
Yeah, so Isaiah Stewart is kind of the consensus guy. I really wanted Joel Embiid to be out, but he's in. I think Stewart's gonna have a hard time staying on the floor. I understand the projection, and if you want to just follow the projection, you can certainly play Isaiah Stewart in cash games. I'm not thrilled about it. He's another one of those guys like Bridges where I'm a little bit hesitant. He's not currently on my team, but it's tough. It's kind of a tough spot. But yeah, he would be the guy, and then Butler's the guy for if you want to just kind of follow what our projections say.
Okay, so Stewart at center or Stewart at power forward with Butler?
No, you definitely want to play Stewart at power forward. You don't want to play him at center tonight. There's too many good center options. See, I'm trying to make a team that has Pascal Siakam at power forward, and then Luka, and then Butler. I want to pay up to those three studs in cash games. So I'm a little bit short of Stewart. I'm a little, you know what I mean? And I'm a little bit short of Bridges. So those are two guys that I'm willing to get off of because I don't really like the spot for Bridges, and I don't have a lot of faith in Stewart to stay on the court against Joel Embiid. So I'm going up to Siakam, and I'm playing Butler at power forward also.
Okay, you talked about kind of the chalky build here would be, was it Stewart at power forward? Who's the chalky center tonight?
I think it's going to be Orlando Robinson. He's definitely going to be the chalk on DK. We only have him for 15% on FanDuel. I think he's going to end up being a little bit higher than that, but maybe not. Jocelyn Dale would be your pay down option all the way down at 3,900. He's showing some ownership. And then it's going to be some combination of Stewart, Siakam, and then maybe Joel Embiid, but not for cash games. Joel Embiid will not be in for cash games. So it'll probably be Lundale or Robinson. I prefer playing Orlando Robinson.
Okay, very good. Let's talk some tournaments here, and we'll bring in Ice. I could already, when Tim's talking, like you could feel his tournament mind talking about some of these chalkier plays. Am I right to assume that you're off some of these guys as well? Some of these like chalky guys that are, cash viable?
Yes, but I think there is some really outstanding chalk that you just want to lock in tonight. Jimmy Butler is priority number one. He's far too cheap for the role. He's the only star playing in Miami. They only have 9 bodies, a matchup against Oklahoma City. So Jimmy Butler is a priority everywhere tonight. As long as the game stays close, he's going to play upper 30s minutes with upside for like 40, 42 minutes just because they're so shorthanded. So Jimmy is chalk that I'm perfectly comfortable jamming in, would be fine with him as a lock button. Some of the other stuff, the mid-range, I'm fine getting away from, and that's because we have so many value plays. There are ones that I'm prioritizing. I think just breaking it down by situation is probably the easiest way to do it. Detroit being in the first game of the night, I'm looking to be underweight on most of them. Diallo and Isaiah Stewart are the two currently projecting for the highest own. I will end up underweight on both of them. The Miami situation is another very shorthanded, like I mentioned. I'm locking Jimmy Butler. I think Gabe Vincent is very strong, but he's a guy I would be comfortable being underweight on. Kind of the same with Max Strus, just because he's so shooting dependent, I would be comfortable underweight on him. Orlando Robinson on FanDuel, I don't want to be underweight, but I'm not lock buttoning him. Like he's near minimum price on DK. He's going to be a complete lock over there. He's priced up to 5,700 here on FanDuel, but that's holding his ownership down a little bit too. Currently projected for around 15%. So he's a guy I would want to be overweight on. And then Oladipo is a guy I could see getting a ton of usage in this game, projecting for about 30% ownership. Not ideal. He's 5,700. But I do want to have plenty of exposure to Oladipo. I think he's a fantastic play. My favorite pivot on the Heat is Hayward Highsmith at just 3,900 here on FanDuel. We could see him play a pile of minutes. I think he plays even in a blowout in this situation. So absolutely love Highsmith for Miami as my favorite Miami pivot. The situation I am most interested in tonight is Phoenix. They're without all three of their stars. Booker, Ayton, and Paul are out. And we also have Landry Shamet and Torrey Craig still listed as questionable, which I think is going a little bit overlooked. I kind of expect both of them to play, but if they do not, Dwayne Washington is the best play on the slate by a mile. He's only projected for 25 minutes right now, and he's projecting as a fantastic value at just 25 minutes. If Shamet were to get ruled out, Washington could see like 35 minutes in this spot. Without the three stars on the floor this season, he's had a usage rate above 33%. So Dwayne Washington is just an absolute smash. I'm tempted to lock him in. Go ahead.
Do you want both of those guys being out in order to play Washington? Or
No, I'm overweight on Washington if both are in. If Shamet is out, Washington's a lock, like the best play on the slate.
Okay, so you love it either way.
I do, yes.
Gotcha.
Just a massive usage rate. They're missing their top three scorers. Tim mentioned Bridges, not really a guy who's going to take over that alpha scoring role. Dwayne Washington is a guy that absolutely could do that. Shamet could get involved as well. His usage has been around 25% with those guys out. And then I'm interested in both of the centers as well, paying attention to that starting lineup for sure. We're projecting Biyombo to start right now. I'm slightly more interested in Landale. I just think his minutes upside is a little bit higher. We kind of have them split evenly, but I wouldn't be surprised to see one of them play 28 minutes and one to play 20 minutes tonight. So both Phoenix centers are absolutely phenomenal.
Not to interrupt you here, Isaiah Stewart out.
Oh my!
Yeah, and Noel is starting for him.
Running scared, I think.
Gross.
Yeah.
So we have to consider Nerlens Noel right now. He's the only.
Yeah, he's starting Noel. Yeah, Noel's starting at the 5.
Yeah. So where does he move now? And Keith, you can go first, but I want to hear about this in cash as well.
Yeah, I mean he's certainly cash viable. I'm just trying to find his FanDuel price here real quick.
He's 3,700 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so he's going to move ahead of Landale or Biyombo, either of the Phoenix guys, more than likely. I just don't know who else Detroit is going to play at the 5, and they have Embiid on the other side in Philly, so it's not like they can go completely small here.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think Noel's going to pop pretty hard in projections here.
We already had him projected for 15 minutes and 15 fantasy points. Now we're probably going to have him projected for what, 25, 27?
That assumes that they're playing 23 minutes without a center on the floor against Embiid. Like,
right,
he has to play 28 minutes minimum.
Yeah, 28.
And, like upside for 32-ish. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so for cash games for FanDuel, definitely I'm switching over to Noel and paying up somewhere else off of Orlando Robinson for FanDuel.
Okay, and I mean, can we? What are the odds on him fouling out at this point? Noel. Like,
I mean, it's pretty high.
yeah, 80
but
plus
even
percent.
even if he fouls out after 26 minutes or whatever, like he's still gonna get there.
If he's
right?
out there for 26 minutes, he'll have a pretty solid game, especially for cash games. I think the harder conversation becomes for GPPs what you do with him, because there's so many good value centers tonight. So it's tough. It's tough to Noel.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Ice?
I can cover some of the plays really quick. Just or I can wait till DraftKings to do that kind of positionally. Either way.
Yeah, let's do that. Actually, let's kind of punt that to DK here.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to DK here, and Tim, if you don't mind walking me through what's a little bit different. I know some of these key guys are much cheaper on DK than what we were seeing on FanDuel.
Yeah, on DK, it's a lot easier in my opinion. Orlando Robinson is an absolute lock for cash games. There's no debate about it. Doesn't matter. This Noel news doesn't really affect that much because he's the same price as Noel, or I guess he's $100 more expensive than Noel. So you're still prioritizing Orlando Robinson. The question now becomes, do you want to double punt center, which I don't actually think that you want to do that, but maybe you do. I'd like to wait to see what the projection team has for Noel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the same guys basically. Dwayne Washington, Gabe Vincent, Jimmy Butler. You know, those are all absolute smash plays. I see, you know, it's the same idea. You know, kind of this Phoenix situation is kind of difficult with like Landry Shamet, Mikal Bridges. Again, before that Noel news, Bridges was popping in optimals, which I don't really like it that much. So I prefer to get to like Scotty Barnes over Bridges or something like that. I really want to have one Toronto guy in my cash lamp tonight. So on FanDuel, that guy's Siakam. On DK, I'm thinking it's going to be Scotty Barnes just because it's such a good matchup against Charlotte. And they play at such a fast pace and they're so bad defensively. So I would love to see people have at least one Toronto person in their cash game lineup. And my pick is Scotty Barnes, just because they're going to be playing so many minutes. So and he is affordable on DK at 6,600. So I really like getting Scotty Barnes. Yeah. So Luka is another priority play, definitely. And then I think that you have to have at least 2 Miami players in your cash game, maybe 3. It kind of depends on what you want to do. I currently have 3, but it's definitely a minimum of 2 for Miami players.
Okay. Any other? Who's the other spend up? Right, aside from like it's Luka, obviously, and then we've got all this value.
Jimmy Butler.
Does he count? Yeah, I guess.
Jimmy Butler. And I think that there are certain builds that I've seen with Damian Lillard that you can play also. With you can go Luka, Jimmy, and Damian Lillard also. I kind of like those builds also. But it's not Steph Curry, it's not Harden, it's not SGA, it's not LaMelo, it's not Markkanen. You know, there's a lot of these high-end guys today that I'm absolutely not comfortable in cash games. So that whole Golden State game, or the whole Golden State Warrior team, I should say, are not nobody's cash viable for Golden State. Nobody's cash viable for Orlando, Cleveland, Utah. Like there's a lot of cross-off games, I think, for cash games tonight.
Okay, and Ice, how are you handling those games for tournaments? I mean, these are big names, guys like what Donovan Mitchell literally scored 70 freaking points the other day. And like there's stars who no one is playing.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we didn't quite get to in the FanDuel discussion. I think pivoting at the top away from Luka, I'd be very concerned about pivoting away from Jimmy. He's just in a fantastic spot. I want to overweight on him for sure. But yes, there's all kinds of low-owned stars. The Golden State situation, I'm not touching. Steph Curry's coming back. Andrew Wiggins just returned a short time ago. So they're all like priced up beyond where they should be. I don't see a chance of any of them mattering on this slate, especially against Phoenix, where there's also blowout risk. The Utah situation, I'm interested in Mitchell on the other side there, so I want some Utah exposure. Revenge game for Mitchell, I obviously need to mention that. But Utah's priced pretty efficiently as well. I do like Lauri Markkanen. I think you can take some shots on Jared Vanderbilt. And then Walker Kessler, like centers if you're not playing Noel or Orlando Robinson on DK, you're going to get a low-owned center. Right. Joel Embiid is my absolute favorite tournament play on the entire slate. He was before Stewart got rolled out, and now there's just absolutely no one that is stopping Joel Embiid tonight. The game more than likely blows out. I think Detroit is just simply punting this one. But Embiid could literally put up 80 fantasy points in 3 quarters. Like, he's just going to dominate this game. Walker Kessler's tough to get to because I'm locking Orlando Robinson. I think his minutes floor is like 30 in this spot. He's 3,100. I'm personally going to be extremely underweight on Noel just because I'm on the show and that news broke late, but I'm fine with that strategy overall. There's tons of risk there for Noel being on the other side of Embiid. He's not a guy that's played a bunch of minutes in a very long time. So I would be comfortable being underweight on Noel, even if I did have the time to adjust. But Orlando Robinson is like a lock button. Yep,
okay, real quick. Is the chalky build going double cheap center with Robinson and Noel now? Like, do you expect that is what everyone's doing?
Yes, I do.
I do.
And like, there's going to be some people that pay for Embiid, but Embiid's going to be 20% probably on this slate, and he should be far higher than that. Like, he's the second best stud behind Luka, in my opinion. And people aren't going to play him because not only do you have Noel and Robinson, you also have the 2 Phoenix guys in Landale and Biyombo, who are super cheap. And you have Walker Kessler, who should get as many minutes as he can handle in Utah tonight. There are just a ridiculous amount of awesome center values. So Embiid's going far too low on slate, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you could absolutely see him outscore Luka. Like, that is not out of the question. Yep. Luka could just do 50 points or whatever, kind of a lower end Luka game is certainly possible, and Embiid can blow up. Okay. Anything that you want to go through here? Some names that you want to mention before we start opening QQs?
Yeah, there's a couple. We talked about Mitchell. Love him as a tournament pivot. Damian Lillard's in a great spot against Orlando. Another guy I really like today. Pascal Siakam. I mean, like Toronto in general, Siakam and Van Vliet both play a ton of minutes. They have a phenomenal matchup against Charlotte, and nobody's playing them. I guess Siakam's picking up a little ownership here on FanDuel because of his power forward eligibility, but DK, another center, like, just nobody's going to play Siakam. So I love the Toronto guys. LaMelo Ball, another guy that nobody's playing. If you were to do a Siakam LaMelo Ball stack, like, that's going to be extremely unique. There's plenty of value to make that work. And there's amazing value in Miami. There's amazing value in Phoenix. There's some Detroit guys who are far too cheap. Like, there's plenty of value to fit that comfortably and feel great about your lineup.
Yeah. If I had time, I would be doing that. Mr. Richard said Diallo not starting. Is that unexpected, or is that
we had him projected in the starting lineup, so that is not expected. But I don't know if it necessarily kills him as a bad DFS play.
Okay, is there someone that gets the bump? It is starting.
It is Hayes, Ivy, Bay, Knox, Noel. So bump to Kevin Knox for sure.
Knox, yeah.
Okay,
and Noel's projection is in, and it's massive. They gave him 30 minutes, which is, he's almost equivalent to Orlando Robinson now. So I think in cash games you've got to you're a double punting center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, God, I have the chalkiest bill. I'm the worst tournament player ever. I'm just doing the chalkiest cash game shit. I don't
think chalk is bad on this slate. These values are absolutely amazing, but you definitely want to make sure you have 1 or 2 pivots. Like, don't play Luka and all the chalk.
That's what I'm doing. I'm playing Luka and the 2 punt centers, like literally every donkey out there.
So play Lane instead of Noel, and then you at least have some differentiation.
Right. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Anything else we want to talk about here? I got eight or so minutes.
I think I've covered everything I want to cover.
Tim, anything?
Yeah, and I think prioritizing Noel and Robinson is what I want to just touch base with everybody on now that we've got the new projection in.
Okay, very good. I am pulling up the old RotoGrinders Discord. If you're not on it, you should be. It's where all the cool kids hang out. Let's get to some QQs. Chinatown says, why does no one think Noel can lock down and beat tonight? Because he can't. I think that's a joke. I can't tell. Let's see. Reggae Joe says, I like Bay now. Sneaky GPP play. Any interest there?
Yes, a ton of interest, especially with him starting now. I love that.
Steve O says, no Stewart means Jared Roden punt season just called up from the G League. We don't need that, do we?
That's probably a bit too cute on this slate. He is certainly in play. I know that there's an issue with his projection right now, so you need to manually add if you want to do that. If you're trying to use lineup HQ, but he is a guy who could see some run. But again, Miami is far, far better. Phoenix is far, far better. I think it's too cute on the slate.
Okay. Ice Sean says, can you go through a few FanDuel centers in tournaments?
So anyone you play besides Embiid, Noel, and Orlando Robinson is going to be completely off the board. I think my favorite is going to the Phoenix guys. They're going to have some ownership, but not near as much as they would if we didn't have the other values. I like both the Phoenix guys. If you can play them at power forward as well, and that's what I would do because center is so strong. But Allen and Mobley are fantastic. Nobody's playing Nurkic. He certainly has a ceiling. And Walker Kessler is kind of a mid-range guy. I think he's a great pivot away from Orlando Robinson, with Robinson being priced up on FanDuel.
But Ice, now with the two cheap plays and with Embiid, is that going to spread out ownership enough where you don't feel as bad in tournaments taking one of those guys? Because we're we're spreading the love.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you're over on Embiid, and I would be overweight on Orlando Robinson. I don't feel as good about Noel. So like I'd be double the field on Robinson and Embiid, and spread out my exposure to Kessler, Biyombo, Landau would be my priorities.
Okay, very good. Chinatown says, is anyone on Cleveland safe with Mitchell back in Utah? I don't really understand.
I mean, what do you mean by safe? I think Cleveland's very much in play. It's a great matchup against Utah.
I love Jared Allen for tournaments, but it's a really good spot. I don't think nobody's going to play Jared Allen tonight.
Okay. Jep's DKGPP question, guys. You got about 5 minutes until lock. Make sure you're getting everything in. 3v3 in a DKGPP. Washington, Kawhi, and Trent, or Mitchell, OG, and Highsmith?
I would go to the second one there.
Very good.
But I do love Dwayne Washington. I'm like, he's a priority for me on this slate. So I'd try to get Dwayne Washington on that second one also. Okay.
Sugar Ray says, Mikal Bridges okay in a tournament?
He's okay, yes. Just because they don't have anyone there. He could literally play like he's projected 40 minutes and lead the team in scoring. But the ownership is the only thing I have a concern with. But he's a great play. Okay.
NBA DFS says, is Highsmith okay in FanDuel cash as a last piece? Tim, he loves the rest of his lineup. He loves it, Tim.
I don't think so. No, I really don't. I say no.
Okay. Just too many good plays.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you really love it, I guess you can do it. I mean, he's projected for 33 minutes, so I guess that's okay for cash.
So I think it makes sense if you want to get to Embiid and you need to punt somewhere besides center. I think that Highsmith could be in play in that scenario.
Okay. All right. FanDuel cash right back at you, Tim. 2v2. Bridges Highsmith. So here you go. Maybe this is the 2v2 he's looking at. Bridges Highsmith or Knox and Grant?
It's the first one.
Okay. All right. Luke Cage, DKGPP, Ice, Barnes or Trent?
Barnes.
DK Cash, Tim, Bridges Saric or Struce Shamet?
Struce Shamet for me.
Yeah. DK Cash, when it becomes a blowout at Golden State, who is Phoenix sitting down first?
Bridges.
Yes, agree.
That's why I'm worried about him.
Yeah, like Torrey Craig is going to be another one, and Saric, I would say, are the three that get sat down first.
I assume it's Phoenix that will be getting blown out because they have no starters. They have no studs.
Yes,
and Curry's back.
Yeah. All right. M Red Sox says, "Oh, I like this question here. FanDuel tournaments, can you play Embiid and Harden together, or just one of them?"
I think you can certainly play them together. They're both expensive, but there's so much good value. You just need that game to stay close is the only problem. So you definitely want some Detroit exposure also if you're doing that.
Okay, makes sense. Raj with a GPP question here. Dame and Knox ice or Bay and Mitchell?
Bay and Mitchell.
Very good. Aside, FanDuel Cash 2v2 for you. Tim, Lauri Markkanen and Dame Dollar or Mitchell Kawhi?
Mitchell Kawhi.
Sean says, FanDuel GPP, Biyombo or Landon?
I think he means Landale. I prefer Landale, and I hope that Beal starts to keep the ownership down on Landale. I just feel like Landale has a little bit higher upside.
Okay, very good. All right, jumping on over to the YouTube chat. We've caught up on Discord here. How many Heat players is too many Heat players? We'll call this a cash question, Tim.
I think three is the right amount.
Okay, very good. Can we parlay? Oh, we got a sports betting question. Why not? Can we parlay Butler and Siakam over 20 points with Warriors win?
You can.
I'm confused by the question, but all right. Wang
it's
Chow.
okay.
Okay, it's allowed. All right. Wang Chow, DK GPP, Knox or Highsmith as the last piece in a GPP?
I prefer Highsmith. I just feel better about his minutes.
Okay. Even though Knox did just get
the starting nod. Yep. I still prefer Highsmith.
Okay. Michael says, DK GPP, Washington or Man Ice?
Washington's one of my favorite plays on the slate.
Very good. Rodney says, what are your thoughts on Burks for Detroit in FanDuel GPPs? He should get some good run.
I'd be concerned in a blowout. I think he's a good run back for Embiid. So like he's a veteran guy that would probably come off the floor in a blowout. It's my only concern. He's a fantastic play.
Okay. Channing, we need to know what site is his favorite GPP under 7K. Give us a site and a position, and we can make that happen. Colin says Knox or Diallo. You didn't specify a site.
That could be cash.
I mean, I probably Knox, but it's close.
Okay, very good. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, by the way, guys. We are less than a minute until lock. Pulling up that RG Discord. Everything's still good there. If you've got any questions, the last chance to get them on in as we are quickly approaching. I'm trying to figure out, did all of my chalky plays, do those lock right at lock? Noel.
Only Detroit Philly locks at lock.
Okay. All right. Then I have time to unchalk donkey these tournament plays here. Do we play Embiid? Hurry. In GPPs, you do.
Yes.
Yeah. In cash, Tim, you're not getting there in cash.
No, not in cash, but definitely GPPs.
Yeah. There you go. DK GPP non-center favorite play under 7K.
GPP non-center under 7K. Let's see here. I will go. I love it. Evan Mobley at 6,800. I'm sorry, I'm looking at FanDuel. Let me see what he has on. I was looking at the wrong site, so disregard that. I don't know what his price is on. Let's see. Scotty Barnes, 6,600.
There you go. That works. Nathan says, oof, so close. Who would you play at small forward for 6,500? I'll call it DK, but again, if y'all are watching, it helps us out if you specify the site.
That was cash or tournament?
We'll call it a tournament. Who would you play 6,500 at small forward?
OG Anunoby.
Very good. Hey, we have hit the lock. Excellent work, guys. As always, good stuff. make sure we don't have anything. Here we go. A couple more questions coming in. Any love for the Raptors in a pace-up game for GPP? Absolutely.
Since my last 3 answers have been Raptors, there's some interest there.
Yeah, I mean, the pace-up game, and they play 42 minutes. Like it's
absolutely
it's
love
ridiculous.
this spot for them.
DK GPP. Last question before we bounce, because I got chicken wings that I got to go get out of the oven. Vincent OG or Washington Shamet?
Washington Shamet.
Very good. Okay, last question from FU. That's a rough name there. FU says 5,500 left in the DK util. Who do you like? Ice, give him a tournament play.
5,500. Oladipo, 5,300.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I did get some Depot in mine. Okay, with that, we are going to bounce on out of here. So, 4, 10. That's the alarm. That says my chicken wings are ready to go. So that's it right there. For Ice, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.